Hello and welcome back to this episode of Best in the Biz, talking with CNA entrepreneurs. My name is Ian McDonald, and today we have Tera McDonald of Kalawikk Diversity. Welcome, Tera. How are you?
I'm good, Ian. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thanks for coming and thanks for being in person. It's always nice seeing some faces in person.
It is, and it just worked out that I'm home visiting family, so...
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so to get started, tell us a little bit about what you do and how it all got started.
Well, it's interesting, actually, because I started out in, one of those professions that most people want to have, and certainly I enjoyed my time. I'm actually a former instructor with College North Atlantic.
Yeah.
I've worked at quite a few of the campuses, made so many lovely friends and colleagues over the, I think, 18 years that I taught there.
Yep.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it, but then there was a point at which I realized, wow, I'm going to be doing this until I retire. And I did not like looking down that length of time until I could stop. So I made the choice to retrain and redirect.
Awesome. Yeah, and how long has the business been in operation now?
I'm moving into my third year.
Okay.
It's kind of, it's that
good.
choicey, dicey year where you have to, it's fun. So Kalawikk is a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. And tell us a little bit about the services you have to offer.
So, as someone who worked in adult education for so long, I knew that I had the potential to retrain and do something different. I've always been a creative person, so I thought, I don't really want to get my master's. Maybe I'll go back to school and do something artistic. I can say that my friends and colleagues down in D section of the Prince Philip Drive campus, where graphic design happens to be, were a very welcoming space for me to retrain as a graphic designer. And for a while, Kalawikk operated as an inclusive, more broad-based graphic design suite.
Yeah.
I did a lot of contracts.
Okay.
That was really fun, but I realized it wasn't enough. It wasn't challenging enough. And I felt, like I kind of missed the interaction that happens between education training and a student and someone who's just learning something new. There's a intrinsic value exchange that happens there, and
Yep.
I wasn't getting that from my new job, or business, let's say.
Yeah.
And so then I decided, well, I'm a facilitator at worst, so what can I do? And I've always been passionate about inclusion, especially in my own classroom. So I just decided, I'm like, okay, that means I'm a diversity, equity, inclusion facilitator. And so I rebranded and kind of launched Kalawikk Diversity, which I think was in the late fall of 2023.
Okay.
Or early fall of 2023. I'm supposed to know these things, but I don't.
So much happening. Hard to keep track of everything, especially times.
It certainly is.
Yeah. I get that. So what's one memorable moment where your storytelling approach really, came into play and had a major impact on a group or organization?
Well, I think it's hard for me to really pinpoint because storytelling was how I taught. I didn't really pay attention to that at the time, but looking back, I can really say that I always tried to relate information in a way that was digestible. And because, avid reader, avid writer, I always told stories. So it made for really, I like to think, I hope it was a good experience for my students, except for business students, those poor darlings. I was never organized enough for them, and I still carry that with me to this day. But I've always used story. I've always been a very talky kind of person, as you can tell. And so when I'm bringing that into a space, it's natural, and I don't think about it. I'd say the relationship that I've developed with Key in college has probably been the most rewarding in terms of a client partnership kind of relationship that I've developed there. and certainly the National Indigenous Women's Entrepreneurial Ecosystem.
Yeah.
That has also become a long-standing relationship where I've gone from student again to, taking on a bigger role in their organization.
Yeah, that's really cool. And, I can tell you're a really good storyteller, and I'm sure the students really appreciated that. I mean,
I hope. Except for those business students. Like I said, I was just never organized enough for them, I think.
Fair enough. But I know students always like to hear stories, and, they like to hear interesting stories because it's real world challenges that they're going to face in the future. So it's nice to hear those stories.
I think so.
You mentioned the Atlantic National Indigenous Women's Entrepreneurial Ecosystem. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the National Indigenous Women's Entrepreneurial Ecosystem was started by Dr. Sandra Shillow. She's a prof at the University of Ottawa in economics, and she was working with Dr. Guy Danilo. And what they decided to do as a social project was to see how do we bring more Indigenous women into entrepreneurship, and how do we reduce barriers for them? And in their infinite wisdom, and I'm not even saying that facetiously, they went into communities. They went into Indigenous communities in Ontario, and they asked, if we were to create a program, what would it look like? What would you want it to look like? And I can tell you right now, if you want to do anything in an Indigenous community, you want to go in and say, can we help? Let us know how, rather than we've made this program, now go do it.
Exactly.
So Sandra and Guy, as co-founders of this organization, they started out with a small pilot. I'm happy to say that one of the alumni that we have is Jennifer Harper, who is the owner of Cheekbone Beauty, which, if I'm correct, I believe just went onto the shelves at Macy's in the United States.
Wow.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, that's huge.
Anyone listening right now who is a makeup fiend, Cheekbone Beauty, which is it's phenomenal. Anyway, she was one of the first people to go through the program as a pilot.
Okay.
I actually became part of cohort 2, and I joke with Sandra all the time about this. I was like, you know what? I don't belong in this program because they asked me to be in the program. I was like, I don't belong there. I don't think this is for me. I'm taking up space. This belongs to somebody else. And thank goodness I didn't listen to myself and I listened to Sandra, because once I got there, I was just... It was relieving. I didn't have to explain what it meant to grow up as an Indigenous person. I didn't explain what it meant to be Mi'kmaq. I didn't have to say that there are actually barriers, that we do think differently. Culturally, we have a different way of doing things. And of course, that means you're going to want to run your business differently. Because sometimes when I say that, in my training of diversity, equity, inclusion, that I base mine in two-eyed seeing, people are like, well, that doesn't belong. That's not inclusive. I would argue that, rooting in a principle of taking two views on one thing is more inclusive than taking one straight and narrow path. So it was relieving to be amongst a group of, high-achieving, successful Indigenous women who were like, this is what I'm doing and I'm going to go do it. And we supported each other. It was not easy. It's called the Grandmother Moon Fellowship.
Okay.
And so when you finish after a year of school, because it does take a year of school through the Telfer School of Management, you get a certificate. You become a fellow of the Grandmother Moon program. And you are now in an ecosystem of Indigenous women entrepreneurs. Wow. And when I say I still am in contact, I mean we still meet once a week.
Wow.
Like we have guest speakers, and the program itself lasts 3 years. So I'm at the end of my second year. Last year, I had the good fortune of, working on my first documentary series on Sung, which I filmed out here in the Stephenville area.
Very cool.
It was so cool. Learned so many things. It's funny, I was talking about it yesterday and I was like, yes, I made mistakes. I'm trying my best to learn from them. But it was the first time I'd ever done it. And there were some truly lovely people that I was lucky enough to learn from. But that kind of catapulted me forward in storytelling, in documentary. And through the, let's let's use my Newfoundland language, jigs and reels of it. By September of last year, I was the Indigenous liaison for the Ottawa International Animation Film Festival.
Oh, wow.
And I put together the first Indigenous animation panel. They're a 46-year running festival, never had an all Indigenous panel before. I moderated that panel, brought everybody together. And I hosted an international animation gathering. And we're now in talks doing year 2 this fall. So it kind of catapulted in this very interesting way. Yeah. And it's coming from an adult education background. Sometimes we get really trapped in this idea that you take this step and that step and that step, and we ignore that there's all these opportunities around. And I see, looking back, I see that in myself. I see that in students that I've taught, colleagues, but I've just allowed for those meanderings to become part of what I do. Yep. So when people ask me what I do in my business, I'm always like, which part? Yeah. Which part do you want to know about?
So many different branches.
Because it's so much. I mean, last year, having the show go on Bell Media, I was published last year.
Wow.
I just submitted a chapter for an international textbook on Indigenous management.
That's phenomenal.
So it's just, I don't know, maybe sometimes we need to slow down and we need to actually look at the opportunities that are around. And I don't know. I'd probably be a better instructor to those business students at this point.
So bringing it back to your entrepreneurial journey a little bit, talking about setbacks and failures, how have you really kind of dealt with them? Because it's a part of business.
It is. Remember when I said those business students, right? I was never really the right instructor for them. I understand now the weak areas that I have in my business. And that has always been the administrative side. It's always been the financial side. I always knew how to make money, but managing money and making money are two different things.
Completely different, yeah.
So having to learn budgeting, having to learn taxes, having to understand how long can you stay a sole proprietorship? Should you stay a sole proprietorship? Should you incorporate? All of these big questions that you think are super easy, they hit real hard when you're not the most organized person. And as someone who has ADHD, it was a challenge. Like it was like an uphill battle, and it is costly. I don't know if you've ever heard of the ADHD tax.
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. So the ADHD tax is when you have to pay late fees, you have to pay
gotcha.
Something twice because you lost a piece of paper, you lost your AirPod, like it could be anything. You're paying more money because your brain can't hold on to stuff as well.
Yeah.
So I have a very good accountant right now, but
That's good. That's good.
I had to pay them to clean up the mess I made. Yeah. I think if I were to say anything, I've learned to accept help earlier. This concept of doing things by yourself or having to know how to do everything, that is going to lead you down a very, very narrow space where it'll be very stressful. And it's interesting to me because Indigenous women don't have the same networks that everyone else has. If you're Indigenous, you're in my age range, which is mid-40s, you're first generation, coming out of, a certain set of circumstances for your parents and for aunts, uncles, extended family. The situation for Indigenous people in the 80s, 90s, very different than what it was now.
Definitely.
And recognition wasn't there. Certainly financial support wasn't there. Educational opportunities weren't the same. Yep. So really, I would imagine you have more in common with a first-generation immigrant than you do with the settlers. And I say that no judgment, but the settlers around you, just for context. Simply because the system around you isn't built for you. Yeah. So you're navigating it like you're an outsider. And when I say that NIWI, and that's National Indigenous Women's Entrepreneurial Ecosystem, is a safe space, you don't have to explain that barrier. Yeah. And so you don't have to carry, secondhand shame that everybody else will put on you for who you supposedly are. You don't have to carry that. You can just say, hey, I struggle with this.
Yep.
And no one looks at you and says, oh, you struggle with that because you're Mi'kmaq, or, you're Innu, or you're Inuit, or whatever. They immediately go, oh, I've experienced that. I understand. You don't have to go into it. You don't have to tell a sob story for someone to understand what it is that's happening to you.
Yeah.
So I certainly feel that understanding is what's a challenge. And it's an even bigger barrier to overcome when you're not surrounded by peers that get it.
Yeah, most definitely.
So I think I struggled in it for a while because I just couldn't admit that I didn't know how.
So we have a little rapid fire round here. I'm going to ask 3 or 4 questions.
Sure.
So the first one question every entrepreneur should ask themselves.
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Okay. Cool. Favorite way to unwind after a really busy day?
PG or... No, I'm kidding. Honestly, when I do slow down, I slow down. I read a lot.
Okay.
So I know it's not very exciting, but...
Reading is it?
I read.
Right on. And this one goes into the next one. Name one book, show, movie you'd recommend to someone who wants to better understand Indigenous stories.
If you're going for Indigenous women entrepreneurs, I would suggest Grit and Grace, the 2 volumes of books. This is the stories of, you'd get 42 stories of Indigenous women entrepreneurs. If you're going on a more storytelling by Harold Johnson.
Okay.
That's very specific, but it's one of my favorites, and I always recommend it to people. In fact, I've given the book to people multiple times.
That's awesome.
I think I'm saying it right. Harold Johnson's storytelling. It's his last book. His partner finished it for him after he passed.
Okay.
It's wonderful.
Some great books. That's great. Well, thank you so much for all the insightful knowledge. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I didn't know what to expect, but this was really fun.
Yeah, and that's how it's supposed to be. Just trying to have a good conversation, and hopefully the audience will learn a thing or two about what you're covering.
Yeah, potentially. Well,
well, thank you so much again. Really appreciate you coming on. So if you like today's episode, please leave a review wherever you were tuning into the podcast. And you can learn more about the podcast and more about the Entrepreneurship Initiative at www.cna.nl.ca/entrepreneurship. Thanks for listening and have a great day. Connecting through story. For Tera McDonald, storytelling isn't a marketing buzzword. It's a leadership tool, a teaching method, and a bridge to deeper understanding. Her approach shows how stories can move people to act, build trust in complex spaces, and make sensitive conversations more human. From the classroom to corporate training and film, Tera uses storytelling to translate values into impact. And it is a strong reminder to entrepreneurs that people don't just buy what you do, they connect with why you do it. Her projects, like Unsung Stories of Mi'kmaq Veterans and her upcoming documentary, Reclamation, are powerful examples of how storytelling can preserve history, spark change, and build a more inclusive future. Accept help early. Growth isn't a solo journey. Tera's entrepreneurial journey is a powerful reminder that asking for help is not a weakness, but a strong strategy. Reflecting on her own experience, she shares how accepting support earlier could have accelerated her impact and reduced burnout. Whether it's mentorship, funding, or community support, her advice is clear. Don't wait until you're overwhelmed to bring others in. Embrace the meanderings. Tera's journey shows that your path won't always be a straight line. From teaching to graphic design to leading diversity efforts, she embraced unexpected opportunity and meanderings. Don't get stuck thinking there's only one right step. Be open to new direction, and you might discover amazing things your business can do.